There's a few things you need to consider when you're unboxing and getting ready to power up your ACI network. The first is that we need to have the proper physical requirements inside of our server room or data center, consisting of the proper power, the proper rack and stack capability inside of our data center or open space inside of our racks, as well as the proper cabling, which includes cabling for not only the connection between the spines and the leaves inside of your environment, because the spines only connect to leaves and the leaves only connect to spines, but also cabling for the APIC controllers to attach to the leaves, as well as cabling for all of the management ports that we connect to for the out-of-band management of the system itself. After we've mounted everything in the racks, the next step would be to power on and connect to the APIC controllers. The way that we connect to the APIC controllers is that we would actually connect to the video output of the server, as well as the keyboard output of the server, just like I would with any other server. And when I power it on, I'm going to need to know a couple different things. First of all, I'm going to need to know how many APICs that I have in my configuration. I'm going to have to give the fabric a name. I'm going to have to assign an administrative password, and I'm going to have to configure IP addressing and VLAN information for my internal fabric network. It's okay to take the defaults for some of this configuration, especially for the IP addressing and the VLAN for the internal fabric, as long as they don't overlap with any reserved VLANs in your environment or any of the IP addressing already inside of your environment. When you connect to the APIC, you'll answer these few questions, and you'll do this for each APIC that you have in your environment. And in most cases, customers start with 3, but can have as many as 5. So you'll connect to each APIC individually, you'll answer these questions, and then the APIC will reboot and come up, and from that point, you will actually connect through the management 0 port over the network through HTTP from that point forward. Once the APICs reboot, we'll actually connect to the network via HTTP or the out-of-band connection. And when we do that, we'll just need 3 or 4 more pieces of information to get the fabric up and running. First of all, we'll need the IP address of a NTP server so that the devices can actually connect to your NTP server and pull down the correct time information and sync that across all of the devices in the ACI network. We'll also need to pick 2 of our spine switches to turn on route reflectors, and this allows us to do routing inside of the fabric. Another piece of information that we'll need is we'll need to assign IP addressing to the management 0 interfaces or the out-of-band network for the leaves, the spines, and the APICs. So we'll need to have that static addressing and be able to assign that to each device. Finally, we'll also need a naming scheme and numbering scheme for our spines and leaves inside the fabric. With these simple steps, your ACI fabric is now up and running and ready to be managed. Please join me for our next lesson, 9.2, Examining the Fabric Discovery Process.